Hello and welcome to the Monroe Mythic Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 151. I've posted something on Instagram today, which I think I'm going to talk about, because I've never thought about doing this before. This is actually a genius idea. So sometimes I might go on the occasional tangent on these podcasts. Sometimes they lack a bit of direction. Sometimes I might waffle. But what if I did this? What if I posted a carousel on Instagram that has 10 key points in it, and then when I record the podcast episode, I just go back to the Instagram post and use that to keep things on track? Why have I never thought about this before? Let's give it a whirl and see if it turns into something decent. So I posted this Saturday, the 20... I can't tell. I can't tell. I looked at my watch there, but my watch is in tracking walk mode and it doesn't show you the date. It's the 20th of September. And I'm actually caught up with my episodes now. When I get home, I'm going to actually upload all 4 episodes that are missing and then schedule this one for next week. But this post says, if I'm 40... Oh my God, I've got a typo. There's a typo. Oh, people. I wish I hadn't come and looked at that. Oh, I wish I hadn't come and looked at that cover. That's just made me feel sick. Oh, that bother. Do you know what? I need to care less about these things. I'm a perfectionist with social media content, and I need to stop doing it. I need to do shit like that, because then people comment on it and correct your spelling. Do you know, one of the most clever tactics that people use to get engagement on their posts, which drives the views, which gets it sent to other people, is they do dumb stuff on it. For example, I watched a video of this guy who was showing stuff about AI, right? It was ChatGPT, but it wasn't ChatGPT, it was something else. And he was talking about, I found this tool that will help me make an Italian restaurant menu. And then he started mispronouncing everything. And everybody comes on and starts making comments. I did it. I did a little eye emoji with tally at the side of it. Thousands of people have liked that comment because thousands of people go in to look for it. Thousands of people have replied. And the video's getting millions of views just because the guy deliberately does these things. I should start doing stuff like that. But I can't. It makes me, I saw that apostrophe, there's an apostrophe missing from I'm. I've done I am. I've wrote M40. Anyway, I'm 40. If I was 21 again, here's what I'd tell myself. Oh, I done it right for I'd. So I've showed I'm not a complete idiot. Number 1. You cannot solve all or nothing thinking with all or nothing thinking. So the idea of this post was, if I could go back to when I was 21, what would I tell myself that I now know that would help me leapfrog life years, that would help me months and years of my life doing the same stuff? The first one that popped into my head was all or nothing thinking. This constant state of swinging between doing everything and doing nothing. You can't solve all or nothing thinking with all or nothing thinking. It makes me ill. There's a great example, right? See that post that I've posted? There's a version of me once upon a time who would have immediately deleted it. Went into my editing app, put that apostrophe between I and M, and reposted it again. Because unless it's perfect, it's not getting posted. Or if I wasn't in a position to fix it, I would have just deleted it. That's my old all or nothing thinking. Now, I feel sick that I've done it, but I don't feel that immediate need to go and fix it anymore. But if I went back to the age of 21, I was very all or nothing. Like, everything had to be perfect or not at all. Here's another great example. If and this carried on into adulthood, if I ever broke something, I would have to go and get a new one. Not as a kid with toys and things, because we didn't have the money for that. That just didn't happen. But once you become an adult and you have adult money and it's your own, I'll give you an example. When I first started the business, I bought a drone and I crashed it a few times and it still worked, but like there was a mark on it. or the paint had been scraped, or something had chipped off it, or something had snapped off that I'd super glued back on and it looked terrible. I've sent it back to, it was a DJI drone, I sent it back to DJI in Germany like 3 times for repairs because I wanted it put back to new condition. That's all or nothing thinking at play. I don't want a broken one, I want a perfect one. But besides that, all the way through my 20s, it was either, I'm either all in on dieting, on exercise. There was no couch to 5k. It was, I am going to run a fucking 10k today. I have not ran in years. I'm going straight out to do a 10k. And if I don't do a 10k, then that's it. I won't be running again. That was the kind of attitude. And if you imagine, like, how much of your life does that steal from you? How much time does that steal from you? How much energy? Constantly thinking like that. And it's something that, because I've been through it, I can spot it easily in clients. I know I did an episode about that specific thing recently. I spoke about it at least, about all or nothing thinking. You can't solve your all or nothing thinking with all or nothing thinking, which is like when we get to the bottom of a check-in. At the top of the check-in, they're telling me about all the stuff they're not doing. And at the bottom of the check-in, it's, I am going to track every single meal. I am going to track every single crumb that passes my lips. And it's like, whoa, no, that's you perpetuating the problem, because that's not going to happen. You're going to come back here in 2 weeks' time for your next check-in, and we're going to be talking about the same stuff. Because you're going to track every crumb for 3 days. Something's going to happen. You're going to miss something, or you're not going to track something at the time. You're going to have to do it from memory afterwards. That's going to really get your back up because you can't be accurate with it, so you don't know the exact calories. Something we work on a lot. So I'll read the whole thing before I move to the next one. You can't solve all or nothing thinking with all or nothing thinking. Every I'll start Monday or this time I'll be perfect is the same trap. The harder you chase perfection, the harder you crash. Progress comes from consistency, not extremes. I know it's a boring message. It's not sexy, but it is. The best way to progress in anything is to be consistent with it. And consistency is not one thing, by the way. This is where all or nothing thinkers fall into the trap of thinking that consistency means being perfect all the time. That's not what it means. Consistency means doing the things most of the time. There are 365 days in a year. It is far better to walk or exercise or plan your meals 300 out of 365 days than to do it for 2 weeks, get annoyed, and then not do it for the next month before you get annoyed with your weight and then do it over again. That's why consistency matters. Not treating your weight, your health, your exercise, anything as an on-off switch. Treating it as something that you look after all the time, most of the time. That doesn't make sense. It does in my head. What it means is you're not switching it on and off. Yes, there's going to be days that are different, but it doesn't mean you've forgotten all about it. It just means that today wasn't ideal. Tomorrow is going to be easier for you to get back to doing whatever it is. Number 2, get as good at listening to fullness as you are at listening to hunger. People, I said this recently, but the reason I did is because it's one of those life skills, right? If you can learn to stop eating when you start to feel full, you will save yourself hundreds of thousands of calories and stones of weight. If every meal you finish the plate because that's what you do, and you take on 200 or 300 extra calories, that's maybe 600 to 900 a day. A lot a week. I'm not doing #quick maths. A lot's in a month, and it's hundreds of thousands over years. Those hundreds of thousands of calories would have been extra that you didn't need. They would have been turned into body fat. You've been doing it, and you're carrying extra body fat as a result of it. Stop doing it, and you'll stop carrying that extra fat as a result of it. So most people are great at noticing hunger, sometimes even with urgency. Oh my God, I'm hungry, I need to eat. But when it comes to fullness, when your body says, okay, you did great listening to the hunger part, could you stop please? Nah, fuck you, I'm going to keep going. This tastes too good, or there's still food left on the plate. I don't waste food. Be as urgent with stopping as you are with starting. Over a lifetime, you'll save yourself hundreds of thousands of calories and a lot less weight troubles. 3. I've made a little, not a typo, I've put a line break in when I shouldn't have. Never mind. Yo-yo dieting is the norm, but it isn't normal. We've let companies like Slimming World and Weight Watchers convince us that chasing the scales up and down for life is just what you do. It might be the norm, but it's not normal. The cycle is the problem, not you. We have allowed the world to become a place where, especially in the UK, right? And the thing is, there's countries in the world where people aren't overweight. Do you know that Japan? Do you know that Japanese schools have dietitians and nutritionists in the schools? They monitor all the meals. The meals are all extremely well balanced. It would be extremely unusual to be overweight there. Isn't that incredible? Do you know, I did some research recently, and I can't remember it, but I looked back at history, and it was just 80 years ago, being overweight was highly unusual across the world in adults. It's only in recent times that obesity and being overweight had become a thing. But anyway, in the UK, over 60% of adults in the UK overweight or obese. So we've got to a point where being a healthy weight has become abnormal. And it's allowed yo-yo dieting to thrive. So we now live in a society where we've allowed yo-yo dieting to become the norm. We allowed Slimming World to grow to the size that it has, to gain the popularity that it has, to fool millions of people into thinking that your weight is some annual project. Oh, I better not say that, because I think I said that in another one, unless I changed it. That's just what you do. You go away, you eat to excess, you put the weight on, and then once you become unhappy enough or uncomfortable enough, or you have a health scare, or you've got a holiday coming up, or a big conference or whatever, you do something about it. You know, we've allowed that to become the norm. And once upon a time, it wasn't the norm. We've let that happen. Do you know, here's another daft thing. Do you know when you open your Google Chrome app, if you do, or whatever your browser might be, I'm sure it's the same for most, where instead of just opening it and having a blank window, they put stuff in there now, and it's like trending stuff that matches your cookies, your interests. So this one came up. I've forgotten her name already. Some actress. I do know who she is. I've just forgotten her name. Quite a famous actress. And it was like, such and such's biohacking tip actually works. Dietitian tells us, right? It's some shit like that. Do you know what the fucking biohacking tip was? Eating vegetables. Holy actual shit. We have now got to a point where so many people don't eat vegetables that we are now calling eating vegetables something that humans have been doing for hundreds and hundreds of years. We're now calling eating vegetables a biohack. Oh, man. Best believe there is going to be a reel on my Instagram about this. I'm going to record myself over that story. Do you know what the secret was? Such and such. Let's see if I can find it again. So it was like, such and such has revealed. Nah, it's not going to come up. I'll need to Google it. Such and such has revealed that by eating leafy greens with her meals, she fills up faster and eats less food. Like, oh my God. So what you're saying is, human being eats fibre and feels full. Jesus, what a revelation. What a biohack. But that, honestly, you can tell by the way I'm talking about it, that depresses me. Like, we have got to a point where eating like a normal person, like human beings are supposed to eat, like they have for centuries, has now become a way of hacking your body. And this is just the state of the world. We have got to a point where our diets are ridiculously comprised or excessively comprised of processed foods. We don't eat vegetables because vegetables are... Why would you eat vegetables when you can eat chocolate? Why would you eat vegetables when you can just eat pizza? Why would you eat vegetables when you can eat all the yummy stuff and all the... with, sauce all over the top of it? Why waste your time on vegetables? I'm not going to get into the vegetable thing. I've hammered it enough recently. And the fibre thing. Although I think it might feature in... I think it's actually going to feature in this top 10. So anyway, on to the next one. Right. So yo-yo dieting is the norm. The cycle is the problem. So allowing yourself to fall into this cycle of treating your weight as something you do something about every now and again. Number 4, take your decisions all the way to the end. Don't just focus on the night out. Remember, Sunday's ruined with a hangover. Oh, I read that stupid, sorry. Don't just focus on the night out. Remember that Sunday's going to be ruined with a hangover. Don't just focus on the shiny purchase. Think about how tight money might feel for the rest of the month. Don't just focus on the takeaway excitement. Think about how you feel after when you're stuffed and filled with regret. Every choice feels different when you follow it all the way through to the end. So here's something that I do with a lot of clients who... At the end of the check-ins, I always ask, what's coming up? I can't remember the exact question, but it's what's coming up? Is there anything you're worried about? Anything you need support with? I've got a holiday in a couple of weeks and I'm worried about it. I've got a night out. I've got a meal out. We're having a takeaway on Friday. And they're worried about it. They're worried because they know what they're like. They know what their history's like. They know what they are like in those situations. And they're worried about how they'll be. And the advice I give is pretty much always the same. Especially around holidays. So, and we'll be using this thinking once we get closer to Christmas. So, December is mostly spent helping people learn how to navigate Christmas, right? It's not, yes, some people are still doing the fat loss thing and all that, but it's more about making a deal of Christmas, helping people who typically in the past go all in on the Christmas foods, who get lured in by the marketing, all the shiny stuff in the shops. They want to buy everything because they've got FOMO and they want to try everything. And then they're going out to Christmas markets, nights out, office parties, all that stuff. And typically, these are people who are used to being 5, 10, 15 pounds heavier in January. And so it's not about you have to not do this. It's let's understand why you act like this. Let's understand why you've done this in the past. But let's also fast forward. I've not looked at next year's calendar actually, but I typically look at the first Monday in January and say it's Monday the 3rd of January. And we'll do this around the end of November, the start of December, and say, look, it's Monday the 3rd of January. You've woken up, you've come downstairs, you made a cup of tea, you're sitting at the table, sitting on the couch, and you're thinking about Christmas and New Year. What do you want to be able to say? What will it take for you to be able to look back on that time and say that you enjoyed yourself, but in a way that's aligned with the future version of you? So you are trying, and we've spoken about this many times before, you are 12, 13, 15, 18 stone, right? Because you are living like that version of yourself. The way that you approach Christmas, the mindset that you have at Christmas will be part of that. So then it's okay, think like the goal version of you, the 10 stone, 9 stone, 11 stone version of you, whatever it is that you've got in your mind. How does that person approach Christmas? Do they eat everything in sight? Do they eat an entire box of chocolates in front of the TV? Do they eat cheese and biscuits every night? Do they drink alcohol every night through Christmas? Because those things are not going to be aligned with the future version of you. So it's about how do we start to scale your lifestyle back? How do we start to change your decision making to be more aligned with the future version of you? So cast your mind to the 3rd of January. The person that you are working to become. What would that person say about the way you navigated Christmas? How would that person navigate Christmas? How often are you drinking alcohol? How many times are you eating out? How are you balancing your food throughout the day? What sort of decisions are you making? Why are you making certain decisions? Are you saying yes to food every time it's offered? Are you eating because other people are eating? Are you ordering a dessert because other people are ordering one, even you're full? So it's all this kind of stuff. So what that last one meant was like, it's very, it's Saturday now. Let's fast forward to next weekend, right? You've got a big night out and you spend the whole week thinking about Saturday night. And there's going to be food involved, there's going to be drink involved, there's going to be friends involved, you get to get dressed up, you're maybe going to get your hair done or your nails done or some new clothes. And you're very excited about it. And you do all this planning. Oh, I've got my spray tan on Thursday, I'm getting my nails done, and I'm getting my lashes done and my brows done, I'm getting my waxing done. Spent 300 quid before the night out. And then the night comes, and your thinking hasn't gone beyond that night. Because, especially when alcohol is involved, it doesn't stop at the Saturday night, it goes right through to Sunday. So you need to get into the habit of not focusing purely on the good part, the fun part, the exciting part. You need to go afterwards and think about the consequences. So yeah, I'm doing all that stuff on Saturday night, but what's that going to mean on Sunday? On Sunday it's going to mean that I am hungover. What am I like with a hangover? Well, I will probably start eating everything in sight. I'm going to order takeaways. I'm going to sit on the couch. I'm going to not move. We're not going to get a food shop. I'm not going to plan anything for the following week. I'm just going to sit and vegetate. And that's fine, by the way, if that's what you want to do, right? But take the thinking all the way to the Sunday. Then, if you have things on the Sunday that are going to move into the week after, take your thinking there as well. So that means on Monday morning, I'm going to wake up like I always wake up when I have a night out on a Saturday, panic, stressed, I've hit the snooze button 3 times. I'm already starting my week anxious and jittery and panicky. I don't have any lunch prepared, I don't have any food to take to work. That means I'm going to have to go out and go to McDonald's or something. I've still not done the food shop, so when I come home on Monday night, there's going to be nothing to eat. I'm either going to have to go to the supermarket on the way home, or I'll probably be that tired because I missed a night's sleep at the weekend that I'll order another takeaway. So take your thinking all the way to the end of the process, not just the part where the fun starts. And again, the point of this is so you can plan for it. I worked with someone called Becky. Becky loved wine, loved it. Wine and pizzas, and she was very adamant about, I want to lose weight, but I don't want to give up wine. I went, okay. I wouldn't ask you to give up wine. Probably ask you to drink less of it once I found out how much she was drinking. But, she was a very fit person. She was very health conscious, but she loved wine at the weekends. So we didn't really need to do much about her Monday to Friday because her eating was great. It was well balanced. She was exercising. It was the weekends that were the problem. Drinking on Friday night and Saturday night meant 2 hangovers, and treating 2 hangovers like 2 hangovers. She loved Domino's Pizza. Domino's Pizza, honestly, look up the calories. It'll horrify you how many calories go into even the small pizzas. And this was her problem. This was where most of her weight gain was coming from. So what did we do? Exactly what I've said. Let's look at your weekends. We know how your weekend goes, so let's change it. Yes, you can still drink wine, but instead of getting a cooked breakfast on the Saturday morning or going out for a McDonald's breakfast on the Saturday morning, let's get to the supermarket and have stuff at home to make yourself. And then this was her suggestion, not mine. She said, we had done that, and she came back to me at one point, I remember. She said, I went to Asda. While I was in there, I got 2 Asda create-your-own pizzas. So instead of ordering Domino's, where she was more likely to take a deal, large pizza, 2 sides, etc., I just went in and got 2 create-your-own pizzas. We drastically reduced her weekend calories without reducing her enjoyment. She also saved a fortune from ordering out so much and eating out so much at the weekends. Oh, the other thing was she would fill up like 2 big bottles of diluting juice, have them in the fridge overnight, ready to tackle the hangover, the dehydration the next day. So, when it's not all about trying to get people to do more or less of things, it's about helping them improve the way they handle certain situations. I'm not going to have time to get through all 10 of these. This is going to have to be a 2-parter, I think. Number 5. You will never maintain a healthy weight without vegetables. Don't want to lean into that too much again, but it's almost impossible to keep your weight steady without them. Without the low-calorie filling power of vegetables, all you've got left are high-calorie foods. And if your diet is built entirely on those, you're never going to be happy with your weight. Number 6. Don't talk about... Now remember, before I say this, and anybody gets triggered by it, which I'm expecting on social media, it's not happened yet though. Remember what the front cover said. I'm 40. I'm 40. If I was 21 again, here's what I would tell myself. So that's my kind of thing about this post, where I'm not telling people to do things. I'm telling them information I would give myself, right? So these are based on my life experiences. So don't get triggered by this. Don't talk about anxiety and alcohol in the same breath. Alcohol creates anxiety. You've gone to the effort of getting the help, the therapy, the medication, the routines, the self-help. Why undo it all with one of the very things that creates the problem? You're not struggling with your mental health, you're choosing to destroy it. So remember, that's a message to moi at the age of 21. 7. Stop putting your thoughts in other people's heads and then reacting to them. Nobody cares if you eat dessert or not. Nobody cares if you say no to food when it's offered. The story that you're telling yourself, that you'll offend someone if you don't just eat on command like a puppy, is just that. It's a story. You are placing it in the heads of other people. You're telling yourself that that's what they're thinking. And then you're reacting to the thoughts that you've placed in their heads. God, how much weight is that responsible for? I dread to think. The amount of conversations I have to have with clients about, look, people do not care if you are eating or not. If you go somewhere and someone offers you food, they're trying to be hospitable. They're not trying to force you to eat. They're not trying to force calories into your body. But you've created this idea where you think it would be offensive to not eat something. That's a story that you've created. Do you know that I say no to food 99.9% of the time? It's an instant no, because I don't go anywhere and leave myself in a position where I would be dependent on other people to feed me, if that makes sense. Like if I'm going somewhere, I'll eat lunch before it. We're going to go visit your mum, or we're going to go visit this, or we're going to go here. Cool. I'll eat before I go so that I'm not hungry. And then that's one less thing to think about. You know, and I know that if I'm ever in a situation where I'm offered food, the answer is almost always going to be no. Because I take care of what I need to eat, not other people. You know, it's for some people, that's a very loud bird, I wonder what that is. For some people, you know, eating is a very social thing, and I get that, that's fine, it's up to other people how they do things, but you'll find that most people who eat socially, people who tend to offer food, actually the people who offer food can often be quite lean. There's many people, you know, here's the thing to think about, right? And this is why it's important not to place your stories in the heads of other people, because there's this thing where there are some people who, let me think of the best way to phrase this. I've met many people over the years who you would not expect to be so slim and lean because they talk about food a lot, or they cook a lot of food, or they bake a lot. And there's this very odd thing where, it's not odd, it's just a way that people are. So I suppose it's unfair to call it odd. But there's this thing where people they want other people to eat. So that person really wants to eat, but they're very conscious of their weight. And their outlet for that is to make food for other people and let them eat it. Does that make sense? There must be some kind of psychological term for that. But there are people who manage their own weight by feeding other people. I'm going to type that in my phone, actually, because I want to look into that, because that's just made me interested. Yeah, so there are people who manage their own weight by feeding others or watching others eat. Anyway, this is what I mean, right? So you're sitting there with your head, with your conversation, And you're like, oh, this person's going to be offended. They really want me to eat. They went to all this effort. And then this other person's like, oh my God, I would absolutely love to be eating them. But if I can just see this person eating it, then I don't need to. They've got their own story going on. You're writing your own story about them and none of them match up. I hope that helps get rid of this idea of the whole, placing thinking what other people are thinking, placing your stories in their heads and then reacting to them. We might get through them all. Number 8, you are not a food bin. Using yourself to save food from being wasted doesn't make you an eco-warrior. It makes you tired, miserable, and probably heavier. And all that money you think you didn't waste by eating, you'll hand it straight to the next diet to undo the consequences. If you actually want to stop waste, plan better, shop smarter, buy what you'll use. So yeah, this whole, I obviously see it a lot because the people I work with are trying to lose weight. So you always have to remember that I don't work with many people who are already at a healthy weight. There are some who have already lost weight and are looking for help with it, but for the most part, it's people trying to lose weight. And the amount of times that come up, oh, I don't like to see waste. Yeah, but look what it's doing to you. Here's another way to kill that, right? If you don't like waste, nobody likes waste, but you need to redirect your dislike. Meaning, think of it this way, right? I'll just give you a completely different way to think about it. Instead of thinking about it as food waste, instead of thinking about it as, if I put this food in the bin, it's going to be wasted. Or, this is food. You can't waste food. There's starving kids in Africa, like my mum used to say to me all the time. Okay, that's fine. You can dislike that waste. But here's another waste to think about. When you eat something that you don't need to... In fact, no, fuck that. Let's do money. When you buy something that you don't need, you have wasted money, right? How many times have your kids been in the if you have kids, of course, or yourself, how many times you've been in a shop, you've looked at something, or the kids have looked at something and you go, you don't need that, you've already got loads of them. You don't need that, it's a pointless purchase, right? We waste a lot of money on things that we don't need. And there's not really a consequence unless you've got money troubles, but there isn't really a consequence, right? You wouldn't be wasting it if you couldn't afford it. However, when it comes to your body, you can't afford it. So think of it like this. You're wasting energy because you are about to eat something, and this is why it's a struggle, right? People, once you get to a point where you think of food as being transactional, like, oh, I'm going to eat that and it will taste nice. So you're eating something for fun, for comfort, for stress relief, not often for hunger. Rather than thinking about, well, this food's going to fuel my body. What is this going to do for me? I'm going to eat this because it's breakfast time and that's going to take me to lunchtime. Once you get to a point where you're just eating things because you don't want it to go in the bin, because someone's left it on a plate, because you don't like waste, then you've completely lost sight of what eating is for, of what eating is about. And now you're creating a new type of waste. You are creating wasted energy because you're now eating something that is going to go into your body and it's not going to get used because it's extra calories, and now you have to carry that everywhere you go because it's going to get converted into body fat. So this idea that using yourself as a food bin somehow saves waste, it doesn't. It creates a new type of waste, wasted energy, and you're now carrying body fat around that you will then have to create another waste. You're going to have to waste money getting help from someone or a diet or a program or whatever it is you do to bring it back down again. You can bypass all of that shit by just putting the food in the bucket. Buckets can't gain can't gain fat. You can. So stop using yourself as a food bin. The reason I say food bin, it's not to be a derogatory term. That's literally what I call the thing in my house where the food goes. If there's scraps left on a plate or something's gone off in the fridge or the vegetables are yucky and they're past their best, they go in the food bin. How you treat yourself now decides your future. Weak, frail, overweight, riddled with health problems, or mobile, active and independent well into your 80s. That's not luck of the draw. It's decided here and now with every choice you make. Not quite, but the point is, the better care you take care of yourself now, the more mobile, active, fit, strong you're going to be in the future. What was I going to say? I read... How do you... Oh, that's annoying. Something popped into my head that I was going to add to that as I was reading it. I'll read it again. How you treat yourself now. Oh, yeah. So, especially for women, if you are, although the demographic of people that I work with is aging as I age. So when I first started out, I worked with a lot of 20-year-olds, but now that I'm 40 and have been getting to 40, the demographic, the age range of people that I work with has shifted. So I'm working with a lot more peri and menopausal women now. If you're not yet there, I also want to add this, that if you have unresolved eating issues before you hit perimenopause, it's going to amplify them. So as well as, thinking about 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, that far in the future, I think what we don't do enough of is talking about, well, actually, before we get there, what about 40s into 50s? What about perimenopause and menopause? What about all the symptoms that are going to amplify your unhelpful habits? And this is where the weight gain part comes from, right? People think that by default, menopause leads to weight gain. It doesn't. Menopause leads to symptoms, and symptoms lead you to perform behaviours where you cope with these symptoms. So if you're someone who emotionally eats, who eats when they're tired, who eats when they're stressed, who eats to their mood, as you enter perimenopause and you go through all these hormonal changes and your body starts going a bit wonky inside and you're struggling to figure it all out and make sense of it all, you're going to do more of that. And it's going to affect your weight. So I think just as a little extra to add, we'll call that... What number was that? I'm home now. I'm going to sit in the garden and finish this episode. That was number 9. Okay. So 9B... Take care of your eating issues now before you reach menopause. You will have a far more enjoyable menopause without chaotic eating habits. Far more enjoyable. That was a stupid thing to say, wasn't it? Number 10, last one. There's more to life than losing weight. Do it once, do it right. Losing and gaining the same stone over and over again is exhausting. Stop making it your full-time job. Do it once, do it properly, and never again. It took me 12 years to learn this. Don't waste as much time as I did. Do you know why I said that? Somebody commented on a post recently and said there's more to life than losing weight. And that is such... It's justification thinking. It's permissive thinking. Do you know what? I'm going to stop worrying about my weight now. I'm just going to be overweight and happy and not do anything about it. That's what it is. Let me just challenge that, right? So instead of there's more to life than losing weight, what if we said there's more to life than gaining weight? What if we said there's more to life than eating and drinking to excess? Than abusing your body for pleasure, than eating until you're stuffed. So yes, I completely agree. There is more to life than losing weight. But if you keep putting weight on your body, then there isn't going to be much more to life than losing weight. So if you're someone that uses that terminology or that thinking, get rid of it. It's not helping. I agree, there is more to life than losing weight, but take it from the other angle. There's far more to life than gaining weight. Anyway, that's enough from me. Until next time.